Loading. This channel is for entertainment purposes only, not to be taken as legal advice. Welcome back, everybody. It's Tuesday. Oh, super excited to be back with everybody. Wow, we are already 1 week into the new year. I got to tell you, I already feel that this year is going to go by really quickly, and we have a lot to cover. But I'm excited about the new vision that we have here at Creditor Academy to streamline your success with our courses and classes and material and documentation. In today's course or class, we're going to be talking about how to operate in the private and discharge in 3 easy steps. Okay. And really, it's the whole basis for what we're building the Academy around. So I'm so very excited to go through this. I mean, the new year is a time for us to at Creditor Academy really bring in our latest programs and to really get the website that's going to be launching here very shortly up and running. I am a perfectionist when it comes to the Creditor Academy program, because once you come into Creditor Academy, I want you to feel like it's home. I want you to feel like it's home. What I mean by that when I say, and just to give you the vision of what I try every single morning to tell my team of website designers and software developers, as I said, in order for us to create the Academy of the expectations that I see it, we need to do 2 things. One, we need to figure out what our focus is. Our focus is on the Academy step by step. It needs to have all the documents that everybody needs. It needs to have a professional presentation of the course material, and it needs to have a live instructor. So then after you go through the course or read the course material or have the documentation, you have an instructor that you can go to their class weekly and ask them questions about the program you just went through. So this is the customer support side. That's the theme through all of our courses and the standard that we're setting, just so then you kind of move along. The other side is the business side, being able to provide to you all the back office services so then you could be what's called a capitalist. A capitalist is somebody who uses somebody else's time and energy and somebody else's money or credits for your personal dream. And really, isn't that what it's all about? When we talk about bonds, discharging, utilizing negotiable instruments and whatnot, it's in order to utilize it as a vehicle or credits for our dream and what our passions are. Well, if you start building out your dream, like you get a house, like this one here, switching houses today once again. But once you get a house or you get multiple houses, what's the first thing that starts to happen? Oh, okay, I got to manage and I got to find people for these 2 or 3 houses. Maybe the first 2 are manageable, but you start getting to 3 and like, okay, I got 2 or 3 houses now. Okay, now I got to find renters for it. Okay, I'm getting some phone calls about some of the property needing update, or maybe the washer or dryer went out, or the washing machine, or the refrigerator needs fixing, or the pipes and stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to call these vendors and go ahead and fix that. Before you know it, because you are living your dream and having different investments and things, you start realizing like, wow, I'm starting to run a business. I need to hire a property management company or something, and I need to, oh man, I have a lot of paperwork to do for the taxes for these houses. I need to hire an accountant and all of that. And no matter what it is you're doing in your life through operating in commerce, you're going to start to realize that these business necessities are crucial. That's why at Creditor Academy, we're not only giving you the education side of getting you to your freedom, but we're also backing it with the back office business support that you need. We resource professionals from 18 different countries to give you whatever professional that you need at a very cost-effective price, because when you're investing inside of a business, especially when you're first getting started, you might have limited resources. Through our academy, though, we're here to fast-track that. So I'm communicating this with my website team and my software development team. So I said, this is the premise. Now, what is the environment? What's to be expected? You're waking up, you drink your morning coffee, you log into the Creditor Academy website. What should you expect? Well, one, we have a very comprehensive communications platform, because we're going to operate in the private. We need to communicate with each other in the private as well. So I have video teleconferencing, I have instant messenger, I have notes and documents that you can exchange with one another. And also your contacts could be with you anywhere that you go, even on your cell phone. So this is going to be a powerful tool that I've integrated to the website. So then we are beyond just Telegram and Facebook and other third-party social media sites. This is a environment that you can thrive and connect with other like-minded individuals. So then when you're going through your academy classes, you're not only going along with the cohort or your classmates, but you're also being able to connect with one another. In addition to that, presentation is so important. Here at Creditor Academy, I do it all the time. I try to introduce what we're all about. I introduce myself. I present myself in my various classes and whatnot. And really, even with my own LinkedIn, I really spend a long time on my profile and making connections. In the same way, I'm doing the same thing with Creditor Academy with a super professional profile builder. This is like one that you've never seen before. I mean, this goes from all the way, not just who you are, what your name is, and address, email address, and whatnot. I mean, you can tell everything about your business, your aspirations, what your interests are. So then people, when they're on the academy, can really see an in-depth view about who you are and what you're all about. And in addition with that, I'm trying to also foster businesses where I want you guys to do business together in the private. So your profiles will have the ability to be able to advertise your various websites where you do conduct your own business. You can post up videos of the latest content. I want to give you every opportunity to show everyone what you're all about and what your passions are. Because I'm here to tell you, the graduates of Creditor Academy are going to be financially very well off in their credits, no doubt about it. And today I'm going to explain to you step by step, 1, 2, 3, on why I'm making such a bold claim. In addition to so now we got everything for you guys to communicate with one another. Now we got a platform for you to be able to showcase one another. So now what's the next and final step is easement of use. You should be able to go through the academy to where, you know what, before I even get into that, let me just tell you a previous frustration. I don't know if you've gone through this as well. But when I was first getting into this truth movement, and I would just go, I remember the first thing I Googled was sovereign citizen. And then I went to sovereign, then I went to secured party, and then I typed in creditor, and I just went into all these different rabbit holes of gurus. I remember I would go to their YouTube, I would watch their video content. They knew a lot about law. I felt inferior, actually, because when you start hearing people talk about case law and referring to the UCC and the UCC 9 and trying to go through negotiable instruments and all that, it feels like you're having a PhD professor, and you're like, oh my gosh, how do I get my knowledge to the level of the PhD professor? Well, if you're in the university and you're in actual school, like I went to the University of Washington and I went to another school for nursing school in Sacramento. But even though my professors were really intelligent, I wanted to know what they were, they still had a structure. You know, it wasn't just spitballing me information. They said, okay, you need your nursing 101 courses. You're going to learn about, proper protective equipment, your PPEs. You're going to learn about, hey, the different types of illnesses. You're going to know about the different types of drugs. And then the next quarter, you're going to learn about, biology and physiology and stuff like that. So by the time I graduated, I felt like my progression of learning matched what my professor was. That is nothing like in this truth movement. Am I right? Because when you go ahead and you search, you're just like, this is so much information. Okay, I'll pay for the program, which I did. I spent thousands of dollars on different programs, SBCs, status questions, you name it, a lot of different rabbit holes. And it's really just documents. It was not so much teaching. It was like, here's some documents, kind of take a little bit of a class. Here's some books. Oh my gosh, the reference of books is unlimited. And go ahead and read all of these because these are my favorite books that I read, and you should read them too. And then now it's information overload. And you're just circulating over and over again on information. and you're just thinking maybe my remedy is that I just didn't get enough information yet. And it's information overload. And then you go to their website, you'll pay the monthly fee, which is whatever that might be. And really, when you get to their website, what do you see? Endless documents and books. Endless documents and books. So there's really not much structure to it, which is the frustrating part. So when you come to Creditor Academy, you will have complete structure. I've really sunk in to make sure that you have a full step-by-step and that you have support, videos, documentation, and people to speak with on a weekly basis, so you don't feel like you're being left behind. But I'm not going to start you at the very end game of, okay, the credits and the discharge and stuff like that when you're really back here. So everybody starts through the program and progresses along. Okay, so program, progress along, got the videos. The next thing that I cover as well at the Creditor Academy, actually, let's go into the step-by-step. I mean, that's the point of today's video. Is okay, Paul Michael, I love it. You're spending a lot of time on your website. You're investing a lot in telecommunications platform, the profile builder. I see that you have a structure by which you're trying to set up the academy. But what is the step-by-step? How do I operate in the private? How do I get to credits and discharge? What does that look like? And can you explain it to me in layman's terms enough to where not only I can understand it, but I can also tell my friends? Because that's half the battle, is being able to not only know about this movement, but to be intellectually talk to other individuals and make it feasible for others to get into it. That was another frustrating part. I remember when I was first starting, and I remember I went to my brother. My brother's like 6'2", 250 pounds, all muscle, you know. And I was like, dude, I gotta tell you about this truth movement, dude. And he's like, what is it? And I was just like, UCC, common law, you know, contracts, banking system, cartel, credit system, no more gold, silver, discharge the house, go to the moon. And he's like, bro, it's just, what are you talking about? Yeah, and I just didn't know how to explain it. I was just like, there's so much information, like, where do you start? And I've heard so many people give me advice like, oh, you got to start with what happened in 1913 and 1933, and it's this huge history lesson and all of that. So I'm here to make it even simpler than that. So we need something structured. So let me tell you what the Academy is all about, so then you can kind of see the structure of what I'm building. Okay, first, in the 2 steps for operate on the private side and the credit side, we always want to start with the private side, right? In order to discharge and utilize credits in the private, you first got to be in the private, right? So the first step is that you yourself, not other entities, not your mama, not your trust, not anything else, needs to be in order. A lot of times we get distracted. We want to help out every single family member and friend before we even help out ourselves. And really, you need to focus on you. You need to be the shining light and example for others to follow. And really, that takes due diligence. You need to focus on you first. So step 1 is the status correction and the SPC, okay, for our academy. You've heard me talk about this many times, the secured party creditor process, also by Patrick Devine. In the old school, he called it establishing a UCC contract trust, is putting all your instruments in your control again, like your birth certificate, your social security card and number. And really what it is it's taking control of your Cystic KV trust. What is a Cystic KV trust? Well, it's a trust that was made for you based upon your birth certificate by the government, overseen by the government for your benefit in quotations, right? So what it is really it's just a trust. There's a grantor, a trustee, and a beneficiary. You are the beneficiary of the trust, okay, that receives the beneficial interest from the trust. The grantor was who? It's mama. It's always mama. It always starts with mama. All your problems start with your mother, right? but that she's the grantor of this Sister KV trust. Now, if you know the little bit about trust, you know, we have a trust course at Creditor Academy. But for those of you who are in my class, you know, we kind of explain this, is that in order for a trust to come to existence, the grantor has to sign off on it, and they have to assign trustees. The trustees are the ones that manage the trust assets within the trust. So those trustees that mama assigned was Uncle Sam or the government, okay? So now the government, since they're the trustees of the Sister KV Trust, they have full control and enjoyment to utilize the trust however they want. Now, the interesting thing about a beneficiary is that you are subject to the grantor's rules that is set inside the indenture agreement or declaration of trust document. What a declaration of trust document is really, it's just all the bylaws and articles of incorporation for how the trust is going to be structured and run. But since the trustees are given total control, they can go ahead and choose how the beneficiaries are going to benefit, right? So the trustees, what do they decide? They said, for the benefit of the beneficiaries, we need to give them what? A social security number. Oh my God, the social security number. Everybody talks about it. So you get the social security number, it's now assigned to you, and now you can do all these contracting with the world of commerce. Well, what type of world of commerce? The matrix, as they call it. So you're in the matrix, operating in commerce, using your own matrix number. So now the trustees are saying, great, go to our matrix bankers, you know, and get a bunch of credit cards and go ahead and spend to your life's heart content and go to a school system that doesn't teach you how to be an entrepreneur or a capitalist, but how to be an employee. An employee for who? For other companies that are in the matrix. You know, that's the whole Neo thing. So the SBC is really your ability to restructure that trust, because in a trust you can hold two positions and only two positions. The grantor can be the grantor and a trustee, or the grantor can also be a beneficiary. The trustee could be a trustee and a beneficiary, or vice versa, right? So you are taking position as the trustee and the beneficiary, okay? And that's really what it is. You want to take control back and push out Uncle Sam and say, you know what? I don't need you to manage my finances. I can do very well myself. And this is what gives you the ability to make bonds, you know, and do negotiable instruments and all that, because now you are what Patrick Devine called an individual banker, right? You're doing your own banking at that point. Now, even though that you get control of the Sister KV Trust, you're not quite out of the matrix yet. And the reason why I say that is because you're still classified under the statutory, right? You made no legal declarations or claims in your local state or county or at the federal level that you are separate from the corporation that was set up, the United States Corporation. So what you're going to do is, or what status correction does, is it's a organization of legal documentation that clearly delineates you from the for-profit corporation back into the republic, okay? So the republic is where the Constitution sits, where you have common law, where you have contract law, and where you have the UCC. That's pretty much where your operation becomes. And you utilize these laws along with your private entities so you can operate in the private as well as do private banking in the private. So now you got the status correction. So then what comes with that? Is there any change there? Yeah, there is a change at the Secretary of State level where you're changed to what's called an American national. So not a U.S. citizen, but American national. So you're officially out of the matrix from there. I want to make a caveat about this though. Okay, just follow me on this logic. Just because your passport says you're American national does not mean that you did status correction. Let me repeat that again. Just because your passport says you're an American national does not mean that you did status correction. And the reason why I say that is because it's the foundation of your paperwork that's your greatest defense. When I go into a court situation for whatever reason, traffic ticket, whatnot, I don't go in for those anymore. But if I did, and if I was to defend myself in court, I'm not going to hold up my passport and say, read this. It says American national. The judge would just say, so what? So are the American Samoans, right? They're American nationals. They have passports that say they're American nationals. So what's the difference? What do you mean by that? But really, it's the paperwork that you submitted and put it on record that delineates your status. So it's still being American national is important. You're put on a different list. You have a different classification. You can do a lot more things. It's still important, but I do want to make that, delineation that just because your passport says it doesn't mean that that's the end game. That's the end game. Okay. So now you got control of your Sister KV trust, and now you got a status correction. So now you're in the private. How long does that take? Right now with the SPC, it really is dependent on when you get your return green receipt green card. I remember when I was doing licensing for the Department of Health, for home health care agencies, long-term care centers, assisted living facilities, and so on, people would often ask, okay, you're my healthcare consultant or my healthcare consultant who's doing my licensing. How long is this going to take? And I would always say, well, it's the government. It depends on how many workers they have at this time, how many applications that they're receiving at that time, and, if there's any defects in your paperwork that need to be corrected. It's the same thing for the SPC, exact same thing. There is an uptick. I've seen it as soon as 1 month, and I've seen it as long as 6 months and everything in between. Based off of the latest, I saw 2 months, and that was an East Coaster. Status correction, I would say about 2 weeks, If you're diligent and stuff like that, it only takes 2 weeks. So what does Creditor Academy do in relation to the SPC and the status correction? What we do is we organize all the paperwork. So the paperwork is organized, and we also have a service where we actually can, like a template, fill out every single page with your information for the SPC and the status correction. And it's about 140 some odd pages and whatnot. Now, a common question we get all of the time, oh, Michael, why already did an SPC? I already did a status correction. I did from some other group or guru or something like that. I have no idea about other groups and gurus. I have no idea. I know they're all different and whatnot, but think about this the way that I'm thinking about it is they set you up to do that so that you can follow their program. If you did that with them, go finish their program, before you start a new one. If you're now dissatisfied with their program and now you're coming to us, I would say start at the very beginning and go through our program. You see, when you mail this stuff off, what is it doing with your SPC? What it's doing is it's creating another account. That green receipt green card, that's an account number. So if you came to our program and you say, hey, I already did an SPC, I would just say, okay, open up another account, just like a bank. Hey, I already have a bank account at Wells Fargo. Okay, open one up at Chase. Doesn't hurt to have two. And also when it comes with status correction, the same thing. You can't over exemplify your status. Okay, so there's that. So now you're in there. I'm going to start going a little bit faster through operating in the private so I can get to the discharging stuff. But the second part is actually operating in the private. And this is utilizing now entities and vehicles that you control. This is the most crucial part. It's the heaviest part of your education, because to operate in the private is reprogramming your brain. Because you used to put your social security number on everything, and everything was attached to you, your house, your car, your student loans, and so on. So now you got to know how to put all of those things into different private vehicles like trusts and private associations. So then you can go ahead and delineate that you don't own it, but you control it. And ownership means liability, and you want to separate yourself from the liability of these. Well, they're all liabilities, right? If you stop paying your house, right, and you're back on your mortgage payment, what happens? Well, then they come for your car. They come for your savings account. They come for all the credit that you've built up to try to maintain. And that was what the school system kind of did. It sets you up to put everything in your name to give you a higher probability that you're going to fail. The banks are betting against you. But here's the positive thing. They can bet against you all day. You still have more power because you have the power to put yourself back in control in the driver's seat, and then you can tell them what to do. And that's what we're doing through the academy. We're teaching you how to put you back in the driver's seat, and they'll never be able to mess with you again. Even if you mess up really badly again in the future, they still won't be able to have control over you. So there's that. So business trust is a huge one. I've been using business trust for about 7 years now. I put this house inside of a business trust. My other one that you see me with my background that I usually have inside of a trust. I put my vehicles inside of a trust. And because I'm an SPC, I can bond things. I can insure things privately. And also because I'm an SPC, I could start putting things not only into the private, but also operating a little bit differently with how I'm identifying myself. And this is why I can do private driving. I could do open up bank accounts in the private. I can do a lot of various different things. And so can you. It's really not that difficult. Like it makes it sound like because there's so much information on the internet that it's complicated, but it is super simple. It's real. I'm telling you, as soon as you get through the academy, you're like, I wanted to do this earlier. So that's the first one. Business trust is a foundational thing you need to learn. And it's important for asset protection. Again, it's the same thing. It's a grantor, trustee, and a beneficiary. You got to know how to operate it. You got to know how to do business. And you got to be able to know how to do your dividends and your taxes at the end of the year, which are pretty straightforward and simple because it's unincorporated. Now, on the other side, we have this second vehicle that you'll operate in the private, which is private associations. You see, at Creditor Academy, just kind of like tuition, I'm going to build all of this into one program to where you don't pick and choose things. You don't say, well, I want the business trust, but not the private association. Well, I want the status correction, but not the SPC. Well, I don't want this and not that. No, it needs to be like an actual school where you just say, okay, I'm going to pay my tuition. I'm going to go through the whole program, and you just get everything. There's nothing that will be missing. It'll be complete. When more classes are added, you automatically get it. It just needs to be that way for you to be successful. And the reason why I say that is because new information comes into me all the time. When I first started Creditor Academy and I started connecting with individuals here online, I was just blown away with all the people I was interacting with, because a lot of you are way smarter than me. And I just get to benefit from your knowledge just because you found me on my platform. And so I extend the knowledge of other instructors into the academy more like a network. And one of those things was private associations, private membership associations. It is hugely powerful. And not only that, it's so simple. It's so simple. Basically, if I was to give you a high-level description of it, it's a private entity that utilizes 4 modes of protection: common law, constitutional law, contract law, and the legal maxims, right? Kind of like religious, right? So what it does that's different than business trust is it's a very private entity, and it utilizes its privacy heavily in contract law. And with my business trusts, I do commerce in the public. So because I do business with anybody online or on the streets, I'm subject to certain public scrutinies. I'm still heavily in the private, but this is why taxes are still relevant, right? But in this private association, you can only do business with members. They have to be members of your association for you to do commerce with one another. And because you're within the private association, you have the protections. It's kind of like, if you take Christianity, right, and the 12 disciples, right? So you got the 12 disciples there with God. What do? They interact with the public still, right? They spread the gospel and the good word. You spread the word about how great your private association is and what you can do for people. But ultimately, you can't force people to become members, just like the 12 disciples couldn't force members to follow Jesus. So if you want to operate in the kingdom of heaven, so to speak, in your private association, the people have to be brought into the kingdom to operate, because the public and private for private associations do not mix. Just like heaven and hell there's just good and evil just do not mix in the same way. So once people come into the kingdom of your private association, you get so much protections. It's like nothing can penetrate it. And actually, because it's so private and it has this level of protections and it only deals with members into its kingdom, it doesn't even interface with the public entity, and why it doesn't even need a public notary to stamp off on it. Isn't that amazing? It blew me away. It blew me away. So all private associations do not need notaries because they are that private. They do nothing with the public. I went and opened up a bank account with it, got business credit cards with it. It's an amazing thing. And it's also recognized as a tax exempt entity. So it's tax exempt and it's non-reporting. That blew me away with it. A lot of great individuals brought me into that space. And this is why when you look at our website, when it's up, that Creditor Academy is not a business trust. It's a private education association. Okay, so you'll see how that all comes in play later. So now you're in the private, you're operating through private vehicles. Now let's get to the credit side. Let's get to the credit side. Another thing that you have to unlearn. The first thing that you have to understand is that money isn't real. That money, as you know it, is the same as monopoly money. And you maybe have heard this online on many other programs as well. Is money doesn't exist. It's in the form of monopoly money. They just print it. They took all our gold and silver, all that, and everything that you can add to it. So really, I like to use it as like credits. Okay, credits. It's really credits. Okay. The game that they're playing with you is this. What we were taught in school and what the banks have told us, actually my banker told me this last week, is to save money, right? How many times your mama said that? You gotta save money. You don't know if your car is gonna break down. You don't know if you're gonna want a house. You don't know if the baby needs to. What if you want a puppy? You gotta have savings, The savings that you put into the savings account, the banks are writing money against it. And they're writing 10 times the amount in credits that they loan out to other individuals, right? So by having money inside of the bank account and having you to save, it's changing your mindset. The mindset that you're having is that I need to hold on to this cash and I need physical assets or something like that, instead of putting you in the right frame of mind, which is to utilize credit. Now, what do I mean by that? Imagine a life where every dollar you save and maybe convert it into gold or silver or whatnot, but really a hard asset. But let's say it's a dollar or a dollar for an example. If everything you saved, you never lost. Okay, let me say that again. Every dollar you saved, you never lost. And instead, you utilized credit. Okay, so you go to the grocery store, you buy your groceries with a credit card. You go buy a car, you use a credit card. When you go buy a house, you put it on a credit or a loan and stuff like that. So that if anything goes negatively, it goes negatively against your credit and what's being reported to the credit bureaus, rather than touching your hard assets. You want to utilize the profits from whatever you're investing that credit in to go ahead and pay the monthly fees and all of that. But you'd want to really protect, what you're building your wealth around. So at Creditor Academy, once you're operating in these private business entities that are separate from you, you can also utilize credit through these private entities as well. So what your life would look like is like this. Let's use a house for example. And this has happened to me. Is you have a house that you want to purchase. Maybe it's a flip, right? How many times you go see a flip, the real estate person gives you this huge opportunity. Oh, if you just fix up the kitchen. Oh, if you just, clean up the living room. Oh, a fresh wall of paint. Well, really, you'll be able to sell this house for more. And what they do is you go ahead and you make an investment. Like, okay, it's 200,000. I can flip it, maybe make 300,000 or something like that. Or at worst case scenario, I can give it out to a renter. You now put the $200,000 in for the house. You start inspecting the house and start doing fixes. And then you start finding something wrong with the foundation. Or you found a leak that you weren't familiar with before. You need to do a French drain. Or the roof is is somewhat molding or rotting out. And so on and so on and so on. Just unexpected things when you get a house. Now it becomes a money pit on not only your loan capability and your credit capability, but now you're just like, geez, I can't fix enough of this house to where it's worth it for me to get a renter in. And now I'm going to default on this thing. I made a bad investment. Sometimes in life, you make a bad investment, right? How many of you have a political science degree or gender studies degree, right? And you're just thinking, man, having a job is tough, right? Gender studies doesn't get you that much. So sometimes in life, you make a bad investment. And what's difficult is that you beat yourself up about it and you work years and years and years to make up for the bad investment that you did. And now you're stuck. Now it's a blemish on your credit report. No one will loan you money. You can't get a credit card. So what does that put you? Back into the matrix, where the banker says, yep, you better save money because you don't know if this situation is going to happen again. Oh, you want to have stuff in the future? You need to hold on to hard assets. That's the matrix, man. That's the matrix. You're not supposed to use savings money. You're supposed to be a capitalist. Use other people's time and energy. Use other people's money for your dream. If you get stuck in trying to save money, and I'm not saying have gold and silver, that's awesome to have, but if you keep on having this mindset to hold on to the George Washington dollars, dude, they got you right where they want you. And where they want you is defeated, broke, and begging for more government influence. And how they get you is inflation. Because all those Benjamins you're trying to hold on to is becoming smaller and smaller in its value that you can accrue over time. So now the grocery bills are heavy and whatnot. But when you go to your banker, what does he say? Keep on holding on to cash. But in the credit world, it doesn't matter how much the grocery bill is. You can always get more credit. But now you just need to know the rules of the game. How do you build credit? And how do you restore your credit, even if you got $500,000, $1 million worth of damage on your Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, or anything like that? How do you repair it? It's a lot simpler than you think. It's super simple. That's why at Creditor Academy, we have the creditor course, okay? Give yourself credit, so to speak. And where we guide you with your private entities on how to build these credit lines, trade lines, so then you can build your credit to go get whatever you want. Now, you might be asking yourself, okay, do I get these credit and trade lines so I can discharge them? Sometimes you can. Sometimes you can. Really, discharging is not so much about what you know, but about the person on the other side receiving your documentation. Man, I have some entities I can send to. It'll go through no problem, just because I have an account. I've been doing it with them for a while. Others, I go send something off and it processes for a while and they'll do back and forth paperwork and all that. But with credit lines and credit card game in the private, it's total freedom. And you can build $100,000 or more dollars in just a couple months. It's really not that difficult. It's super simple to do. And what you do is you make good business decisions. You say, okay, I want to do a flip. I'm going to buy a property. I'm going to invest in a business, and it's going to make a return. And then I'm going to pay off these, do the minimum payment on these credit cards. And then it's going to go from $100,000 in a couple months to $300,000 in a couple more months. And it's just going to keep on compounding. And the reason why it's compounding is because we're giving you depth. A lot of you only have 1, 2, 3, or 4 different credit cards. You need 30. You need 60. You need depth to your profile. The more depth that you have to your profile, the more credit that you can build. And the great thing about having this depth is that if anything goes wrong with your house of cards, it goes all back on the entity and not on you. But even if something does go on you, not a big deal. Removing stuff from the credit bureaus takes a month or so. And this is why we have professionals now, why I interviewed Ryan last week, Tuesday. Definitely check out that video where I interviewed Ryan, and he's the credit expert. And he kind of just went through the rules of the game. And so that's what we're going to teach you. We're going to teach you the rules of the game. And I remember when I was a nurse, the first thing that I did, I worked for a home health agency. It was called Bright Star in Sacramento. And then I became traveling all across the country. I remember I was making $35 to $38 per hour, right? Then I just said, wow, well, how much are people my agency, Bright Star, charging for the hourly rate for a nurse to the clients? Oh, they're charging $120. Well, shoot, I want that $120, dog. I'm just going to go ahead and work on myself. So I went ahead and became self-employed, shot right up right there. I just had to find my own clients. And I was like, that's no big deal. I just got to fill up 40 hours of my work week. So now I was making 120. And then I got 4 or 5 clients, and I was stretching myself thin. And I was like, oh, I can't be self-employed anymore. I need to be an entrepreneur. I need to hire an employee. And so I hired an employee, and then I just kind of grew from there. The same thing is what you have to do. You have to grow into this. And this is why when you graduate from Creditor Academy and you know how to utilize credit, you know how to utilize your private entities, you're in the private yourself, the 3 steps, then we can help you with the business side. Last Thursday, we interviewed Cynthia. Amazing conversation with her. She's connected with hundreds and hundreds of different franchises where it's kind of like business already structured for you, so you can step into an opportunity and start your business and start investing on yourself. And then also we have other people who are real estate professionals. Hey, we got properties. You want properties all over the country? We got those connections. Or maybe you want to start a business on your own. Creditor Academy, with our international and local staff, can get you anybody of any professional that you like. And this is how I'm structuring everything for your success, because you can't fail. You've done everything in accordance to succeed. And if you want to use negotiable instruments or bonds or more comprehensive processes that you see online on the internet, we have a row full of advisors, a whole team that are professionals that have been doing it for 15 years or more. And they know this game. They love reading law. They love reading the UCC. They love going to those law libraries and reading all that. You got to ask yourself the question, is your determination in this truth movement, do you become a legal professional? Is that really your passion? Is that something that you're going to work super hard to do, is to research all these different processes, read Black Law's dictionary front and back and all the UCC stuff like I did? Like, is that really the forte that you want to spend your time and energy into? Or do you want to spend it into real estate? Or do you want to spend it into, opening up a dentist's office? Or do you want to spend it on, having your own car dealership, whatever it is? And that's really what you got to ask. And really, that's what our program is all about. It's just getting you straight to the end point and to helping you succeed. So with that being said, we're going to go to questions now. If you have any, you can raise your hand. We're in a live audience right now. Hano Bay, good to see you once again, brother. How have you been?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Paul. I was wanting to see if you could just give us an example of how one would add credit, just an overview and high level, basically, once you've been through all the steps 1, 2, and 3, and you're at the point of you want to add credit to your business trust, like you've done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give us an example of this, how it would, an example how it would work, because I think I got an idea how it will work with my own, from what I've learned over the years, but I'm not sure exactly. I haven't got it confirmed by you because you've already done it.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. So the great thing about the credit game, but also what's complicated about it, is there's so much information on the credit game, but no one actually teaches you it fully. And the reason why, you know what the reason why is because the people who know about the credit game would lose business. Because if you knew the whole entire credit game, which I'm about to explain to you, what's the point of hiring a consultant and advisor continuously for them to do stuff for you? So high level business credit, because with your private business entities, is the most powerful objective. And it's only 4 steps. Step 1 is perfecting your profile. Okay. There's underwriters. Underwriters are the ones that approve you for credit lines and for loans.
Yes.
You need the underwriters to see a really good profile of you and a really professional business profile of you. So what Ryan does is he helps you perfect that profile so the underwriters approve you as a legitimate business to start utilizing business credit. Then you go through the 3 tiers. Okay. Tier 1 is it's the box office stores, the commercial stores, Lowe's, Home Depot, and whatnot. And there's certain cards, not credit cards, but certain accounts that they have that you utilize to build business credit fast. Okay. And then you'll go ahead and make purchases at those commercial box office stores. And what you'll do is these will be your first, what's called trade lines that you develop. The trade lines give you kind of the depth. So now if you go to these department stores, which it's easy to kind of really bump up your trade line courses or trade lines. Now you can say, oh, Best Buy, I got 3,000, or Lowe's, I got 10,000, or whatever it is. Now when you can go into tier 2, and tier 2, now that you have this depth in trade lines,
store cards, right?
It's the commercial banks, the Wells Fargo, the Bank of America, and stuff like that. Now they go ahead and they see your trade lines, and now they go ahead and build depth off of you, and they say, oh, I'm going to give you some credit cards, no problem. We have what they call them financial instruments, or they're financial instruments. So they say, hey, these are different packages that we have. Wells Fargo, for example, is not a good one. I have a Wells Fargo account, but they only have 1 financial instrument available. They only have 1 business credit card. But if you go over to Chase, they have 5 business credit cards. You know what I mean? So you can take advantage of all of their business instruments. And so you kind of want to look at, there's some options. This is what Ryan covers really deeply. Now, the 3rd and final tier is the big leads. It's called the credit unions. The credit unions are the ones that give you the 0% APR for a year, and they give you super high credit lines. And when you already have, 6 or 8 trade lines with a department stores, and you have 6 or 8 trade lines with the commercial banks, and now you do 6 or 8 different cards with the credit unions, you have so much depth to your profile and your credits. So now asking for $1 million loan, investing in a business, or whatever is no problem. And so this takes anywhere between 2, 3, possibly 4 months, depending how diligently you're working with it and stuff like that. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. I actually knew that part, but I guess let me ask you more of a direct question.
Yes.
Can we utilize an instrument, put it on a UCC, register the instrument on the UCC as a credit, but before you do that, you would do the 10. I'm just thinking out loud. I'm trying to process it, a way to front load my credits versus and do the process you just named as well, doing both at the same time.
There is a way to do that.
That's what
I know where you're going.
Like,
I totally get where you're going on the private side, and this is why we have a class on it, because you have to be in the private and go through these steps, because then you start saying, well, wait, can't I use my SPC for? You'll naturally start connecting dots, and then you're like, yep, you can absolutely do that. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I mean. That was a quicker way to do it in the first month, I'm thinking, and then as long as while you're doing the tiered system, you can do that at the same time.
Absolutely. Well, it goes hand in hand. It goes hand in hand. You're going to follow that tier system no matter what. You're just now jump starting, you know, what you're doing. So now I can get trade lines or credit lines. You know, me personally, a lot faster, like 100,000 in a month, 60,000 a month. You know, sometimes there's variables to it, but let me just tell you, I'm earning a lot more money through credit than I was as a nurse, and that's the that was the big thing. Yeah, that was the big thing. So no, great question on that. Renee, let's go to you. Renee, you're on mute. Amazing.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, I have a court case coming up, and so I would like to know which form should I use, or should I insist like I'm like the lawyer for the entity of the all caps? Do I agree to the charges, or do I dismiss the case?
Well, yeah. So so the first question is do you got your SPC and your status correction done?
No, I should be having all of that, the paperwork filed in by Friday.
Amazing. Okay. With the green card. Okay. So you're just submitting it and you got to wait for the return green receipt?
Yes.
Okay. Got you. So we have to wait for that return green receipt because that's your account number. Now that you got control of the account, now that you can utilize the account for your benefit. However, if there may be something, you know, you got everybody's detailed situation is different. So if you want one of our advisor teams to kind of sit down and talk with you, you can email advisor@creditoracademy.com, and we'll schedule an appointment with somebody who deals specifically with the court system.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. If you would like to join this live class, or what I call the live class and also the after hours, you can email creditoracademy@gmail.com for the links to this live class right now from YouTube after we get off here shortly. But for everybody that's watching on YouTube, you know, I'm very passionate about this movement, and I'm passionate about business. I'm passionate about the truth to get out there. And I think the best way to do this is just to make it as simple as possible. If people are really going to be free, like Patrick Devine tried to do so much, we have to keep it really simple, streamlined, and straightforward. And but also it needs to be impactful. It needs to be like, hey, I'm going to give you courses, classes, and documentation to help you every step of the way. I can't do this alone. That's why Creditor Academy is not all about the Paul Michael show. It's about a network. That's why we're adding new instructors for the Academy all the time. We have new classes, resources available over to you. But we want to be the one-stop shop. So then you can confidently say to yourself that if you want true freedom, Creditor Academy is here for you all the way. If you would like to sign up for any of our classes or courses, you can email classes@creditoracademy.com to see our full list of classes and how to enroll in that. But for everybody who is joining us on YouTube, if you have not hit that subscribe button or the notification bell, now is the time to do it. And if you have not joined our private Facebook group, I've got to tell you, it's the place to be. So you can go ahead and find that in our description box here on our YouTube channel. Until next time, which will be live this coming Thursday, same time as usual, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will look forward to seeing you all again. Happy first week of the New Year's. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Bye, everybody. Bye on YouTube. Bye-bye. Amazing. It's the after hours. Tammy,